Hi, this is Georg from Hyperseed. In the next 5 minutes I will build a small price calculator. First I add a data table to enter the products. By double-clicking I can change the name of this table and the names of the columns. Always hit enter to save your entry. We add 2 columns for name and SKU, and by selecting the third column and hitting delete on the keyboard we remove the third column. You can move elements on the canvas by drag and drop. To enter values in the cells, double-click them and start typing. Always finish with hitting enter on your keyboard. Rows in the data table are automatically added, so you can add as many values as you like. To allow a user to select a product in the user interface, I add a drop-down component. To show the user the available products, I connect the selection options with the names of the products using an expression. We check the drop-down here and the options are shown. I set the name of the drop-down so I can use it in an expression. To complete our user interface, I will add a label on top of the product. The order of the elements on the canvas also define the order on the user interface. I now need the prices for our products, and for that purpose I'll add a data column component to our products table. So I get a third column and I give it a name. Finally, I add the prices for the products. To look up the correct price for the selected product, I add a variable to the canvas and call it price per item. By selecting the variable, I can define an expression, and we use the lookup function, where we first look up by the value that is selected in our drop-down. We look it in the names column of the product and return the price of the product and enter false, as this is an unsorted table. When we now select the product, we can see that the price per item is set accordingly. To show the price to the user, I add a visual row component to the user interface. This allows to show values next to each other. The input field I do not need, so I delete it, and I add a currency component which shows a value with a currency symbol. I set the label and then I set the value that I want to show in the currency field by an expression, and I simply reference price per item. And now I check that it works. Next, I want to add a field where the user can enter the number of items, where first I add a label, as I want to allow the users to add a numerical value. I choose the number input component and add this to the user interface. I change the name of the component to later reference it in an expression and set the label. The last thing I want to add to this calculator is the total price. For that purpose, I add another variable. Call this variable total price, so I can reference it later. And I add an expression, which is the price per item times the number of items value. On components and tables, always reference the property and not the entire table or component, otherwise you will not get the value. I check again if the total price is calculated correctly. Now I have to show the total price to the user, therefore I again add a visual row, remove the input field, and instead show, by using the currency component, a currency value. I set the label and for the value to be shown, I use an expression to reference the total price variable. I check now the result if everything's working. So by selecting a number of items, I see the total price is calculated and shown just as in the schematic view. I check the layout on mobile, and eventually the last thing required is to publish the application, and by clicking on the link I can see it on a website which is publicly available, and a final check gives me the confidence that everything is working as it's supposed to be. Thank you and goodbye.